Hello, dear viewers. Hello, dear listeners. You are welcome to the platform again, and this is Unique Educational Consult. If you could remember vividly, in the last lesson, we looked at the figures of speech and the poetic devices used in the poem Binsey Poplars, written by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Now, today in this lesson, we want to look at the themes in the poem, or you call it messages in the poem. So let's take this one after the other and see what they are. The first one we have on the list is intense feeling of loss. What is this about? This theme is nestled in the poem, and this is focused on the loss of what we have. The poem begins on a note of loss, with a statement couched like an epitaph. The entire poem revolves around a loss. At first, it seems to be the loss of some trees, specifically poplars, or you call it aspen. The poetic persona laments the feeling of these poplar trees, providing it refers to the branches of the tree as hairy cages. This is found in line 1 of the poem, that help to reduce the impact of the sun by providing shade while it was still standing. And also, it laments the loss of these trees because all of them have been cut and not one is left behind. Everything had been cut. And also, when we look at stanza 2 of the poem, the feeling of loss becomes full blown. That is, it is fully blown. The poetic persona is mourning the loss of familiar terrain that he considers a heritage, a natural beauty, and a habitat under threat from humans' good intentions. The poetic persona also believes that by trying to mend nature, humans actually end and rend it apart. So it is true that building roads, amusement parks, and the likes are all hallmarks of progress, but it is at the expense of nature. And at the end of the day, generations yet unborn might not be able to enjoy the beauty of nature because of new things that are being put in place. For instance, in Africa, in this contemporary period, generations of young Africans are not familiar and cannot appreciate in a meaningful way discussions about herbs. When we talk about herbs, it is very rare for the new generation to identify which particular kind or type of herb this is. And at the same time, uh, the empires that existed in the pre-colonial Africa and other aspects of the African past, because these things have been eroded and lost to modernization. So this is about intense feeling of loss as one of the points or one of the messages or themes as passed by the poet or found in the poem. The next one is the fragility of nature. Nature is very fragile, and even the smallest act of cruelty is capable of upsetting its delicate balance. And unfortunately, man acts and fell trees at will. That is, the way they like it, they fell trees, giving no thought to the effects of his destruction or destructive acts on the environment. And precisely in this poem, one of the effects examined is the total erasure of the beauty in nature, such that coming generations will no longer be privileged to see and appreciate it. The reduction of rural landscapes, the landscape of the rural areas is also one of these effects. While industrialization has its advantages, the over-enthusiastic nurturing of industries could lead to the reduction and possibly the extinction of the pristine rural landscape, as this is expressed by the poet in lines 22 to 24 of the poem. It is also pertinent to note that this poem was written at that period on the 19th century when industrialization was emerging in Europe and America. More factories were set up as opposed to small workshops, and an increasing amount of natural resources were needed both to run the factories and to manufacture marketable products. As a result, more and more efforts were put into deforestation, quarrying, amongst others. The downside of this effort was an increase in population and a steady decrease in trees and other beautiful natural elements. Yes, when we are on the verge of bringing rural parts of the country of an area to be modernized, people will surely come to the city, come to a urban area to look for white collar job or something to do that could fetch them money. But in the long run, it causes what? The downfall of the beauty of nature, which the oncoming or the next generation will not be able or be privileged to have access to or know what happened in the past. So this is about point number two, which is the fragility of nature. The next one is the adverse effects of modernization on nature. In times past and even in recent times, humans have always tried to do things, many things, create things, and also discover things that will be better than those of his predecessors. Yes, we usually like to do things better than who taught us. Change is the true meaning of civilization. Each period of humanity created a civilization of its own that, once surpassed by the next generation, led to the birth of another generation or civilization. Civilization is actually good, no doubt about that, but it has brought man out of different ages from the Stone Age to that of the Iron Age. It has helped create things to help man and make his work easier and faster. It has led to a better understanding of the world with increased communication, education, and travel amongst different people of the world. Civilization has created avenues for man to understand better his world and the areas he occupies in it. But unfortunately, civilization has come with a steep price, and most times it is nature that pays the price. This is where the adverse effect of civilization comes in. Nature is fascinating in its orderliness. As things grow, bloom, and die, nature provides a means through which they can be reborn without causing harm to the existence of other things. Everything struggles for survival, but in the end, there is still balance. For instance, a flower blossoms today only will wither and die by evening, but its fallen parts decompose to grow and yield another. It is continual case of rejuvenation and rebirth in nature. On the other hand, civilization is rarely engineered with foresight because the immediate success of invention is the goal and not its effects in the long run. Inventions like paper for the printing press, ships for sea navigation, train, and a host of other inventions needed an increase in the felling of trees for its use. The deforestation has led to an increased level of destruction of trees without the thought of replanting these trees. Factories and manufacturing companies were adding problems to the environment due to their massive release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The trees that could have absorbed these excesses in carbon were little, if not non-existent, and all this led to increased environmental problems as a result of civilization. Interestingly, these trees are humans' primary source of oxygen. Relationship between humans and nature is, in essence, symbiotic. In the poem, if you if you have read it very well, the poetic persona refers to trees. These trees are poplars and are of the softwood variety. They would have most likely been felled for the creation of papers, yet the poetic persona is not concerned with the papers that these trees were going to make, but with its natural benefits as a shield from sunlight or rain. In the increase of civilization and technology, the simple things that the poplar helps with are forgotten and underestimated. This teaches the readers that sometimes it is the little things in life that make people happy, not, as we can see from this poem, not the felling or what you can derive from the trees that is important to the poet, but the fact that it provides shade from the sun ray or sunlight. So the poetic persona is more nostalgic about the loss of the shade provided by the trees than the trees' ability to be turned into paper. In essence, the poetic persona is stating that civilization is good in itself, but it should not just benefit itself by destroying nature. Civilization should learn from nature and find a way to renew what it destroys. This does, in the poem, the poetic persona bemoans man's destruction of the environment. The trees that initially lined the banks of the river have all been cut down. The poetic persona laments at the same time the fact that none of them is spared. They are all cut down without any consideration for the damage that this act could have on the natural world. So, the trees that form parts of the aesthetics that are found in nature are all destroyed ruthlessly. So, this is about the adverse effects of modernization on nature. Let's progress to the next point, which is benefits of nature to humanity. This will be actually almost the same thing as what I just said. But in this case, the benefit of nature to human is one of the dominant themes in this poem, as seen by the poet's concern. The poet is preoccupied with the relationship between man and his natural environment. It is not possible for humans to live in isolation from the environment. Never. It's not possible. Regardless of how hard it tries. The hairy cages, as seen in line 1 of the poem, of the trees keep the sun away from the earth and allow the fresh breeze to pass freely. The trees give shade and provide a cool spot where different elements of nature can find shelter from the sun, which is actually and absolutely true. So, however, while nature appears to be beneficial to humanity, humans do not reciprocate in kind, which leads to the felling of the trees without sparing one to what? To bring about more or the replanting of the trees. So by that, this persona, our poetic persona, wouldn't have felt bad about the loss of the trees. So, on the contrary, the trees are cut down without any hesitation. No thought is given to the negative effects of this action on the environment or even on humans. Therefore, the relationship between man and the environment is not balanced at all. At all. While nature plays roles that are ultimately beneficial to humankind, man does things that are ultimately detrimental to nature in return, which is imbalanced. That is about another point that we have there, which is a benefit of a nature to humanity, which humanity uh, refused to or nonchalantly not reciprocated. The next one, which is going to be the last one, is good turned evil. That is, good things sometimes that we do could be evil to ourselves or nature as it could be. So under this, good is a relative. A soldier can be a good killer, but that does not equate with one calling him a good man. A popular idiom goes thus: the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Good sometimes can be evil or can have evil effects because few people take time to look at the effects that their good deeds will have in the long run. So, in this poem, the trees are being cut for a particular reason which could be beneficial to human actually. Perhaps they are being cut to build homes for people to live in, or they could also have been cut to provide heat to families living in the cold area part of the country, and also perhaps they have been felled to provide fuel for trains to transport goods faster, or perhaps they are being cut to be turned into paper to be used for printing books for the advancement of knowledge. Whatever good the felling of these trees aims at, the aftermath from the perspective of the poetic persona, that is Gerard Manley Hopkins, is evil. To him, it is evil. Whatever reasons, whatever benefits could be derived from the felling of the trees. But to this poetic persona, it is evil. So it led to a loss of shelter from the sun for those who used it or used to sit under the shade of the trees. The felling of the trees destroyed a source of oxygen for humans, while it also destroyed the orderly looking meadow where the trees had stood, where they had stood, and in awesome majesty for years before the cutting or the felling of them. So a statement made by the poetic persona, oh, if but we, oh, if we but know what we do. This is found in line 9 of the poem. This particular statement emphasizes the idea of the ignorance of humans when it comes to the environment. So, the poetic persona wonders aloud about why humans are ignorant of the effect of their ill advised actions when it comes to the issue of nature and, by extension, the environment. If humans knew the extent of the consequences of their actions, the poetic persona muses, then maybe humans would stop and rethink its unbridled of their actions or exploitation of the environment. So also in the poem, the poetic persona agrees that humans could be well meaning in their relationship with the different elements of nature, but the results of their actions are usually adverse. This can be seen as well in lines 16 to 17 of the poem. I quote, "Where we mean to mend her, we hand her." That is the nature. We mean to what? Bring about advancement, but yet we hand her, the nature. So indirectly, the poetic persona tries to tell the readers that nature does not need mending. Humans' attempts at mending it only wreaks havoc and unselves, which is found in line 21, it unselves it. That is nature. So, from the perspective of the poetic persona, the desire by humans to mend nature is like a doctor's attempt at treating a healthy patient. The doctor could turn a healthy person into an invalid by such ill-advised treatments. Thus, the portrayal of the evil effects of the good intentions of humans on an already well-structured and healthy natural environment is a salient point that is made in this point. In this poem. So this is all about the messages, or you call it themes, that we have in this poem. And the poem is Binsey Poplars, as written by Gerard Manley Hopkins. I hope this is well understood. All right. So I want you to continue reading the text, reading the poems, as I will be doing or making available the summaries and the analysis on this platform. So let people know about this platform, share the link, like the link, give your comments about what we are doing here, and I'll be motivated to do more and more, providing you or simplifying things for you on this platform. So don't forget to bring people to subscribe to this channel, and I'll be happy and I will appreciate it at the same time as I'll be here for you doing the thing. And all right, so always remain safe wherever you are, because of the pandemic is still around until God is able to take it from our midst. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you.